This wedding was an assignment for my Religion 2 class in Catholic school.
This one's wife. She should have kept the HRH. Hello, I'm HG Tudor. There is an interesting article which suggests that this one's wife ought to have kept the HRH status. And I'll be addressing that shortly. But I thought it would be worthwhile to provide you with an understanding about what HRH status is and why does it matter. You may not be familiar with the ins and outs of what HRH status provides. You're probably aware that some members of the royal family have it, that Harry and this one's wife don't. They lost it. But what does that mean? Well, HRH, as you'll know, stands for His or Her Royal Highness, and it's a style that's used to directly address a senior member of the royal family. It's usually been bestowed to sons and grandsons of the monarch by the monarch since the 18th century, and then that was later adjusted to include daughters and granddaughters. HRH was given quite liberally to members of the royal family until World War I, when King George V in 1917 restricted how many minor royal family members were getting it due to suspicion surrounding the German origins of the House of Windsor, which was renamed that year from the House of Saxe-Coburg and Gotha. The HRH title does not stretch out to all minor royals. It's traditionally kept to children and grandchildren of the monarch. But it does include members of the royal family such as Prince Michael of Kent, who was the Queen's cousin. It's something that is in the gift of the monarch, and it's something offered to the royals by the monarch, but they don't have to accept it. For instance, Princess Anne declined the title for her children Peter Phillips and Zara Tindall, whereas Prince Andrew, unsurprisingly, accepted it for his children Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie. For those who marry into the family, it's somewhat more complex. Both Catherine, Princess of Wales, and this one's wife, Duchess of Sussex, were awarded the status when they married into the family by the Queen. The Queen, in essence, gifted it to them. But those who wed a royal not as high in the line of succession could miss out. For instance, Jack Brooksbank is not an HRH, although Eugenie, his wife, is. Prince Andrew, you'll recall, was forced to relinquish his HRH title, along with his military titles and royal patronages, some years ago as a consequence of the allegations about a civil sexual assault. When Harry and this one's wife stepped down as senior working royals back in 2020, they also relinquished their HRH titles and royal patronages. The change officially meant that because the Sussexes were no longer actually representing the Queen, they could no longer use or refer to themselves as HRH. Harry is still known as Prince Harry and is known as Duke of Sussex, and this one's wife is still allowed to be known as Duchess of Sussex. Diana lost her HRH status after her divorce from King Charles in 1996, but she was given the courtesy title of Diana, Princess of Wales. Prince William reportedly told his mother, who was said to be upset at the loss but gave it up voluntarily, "Don't worry, Mummy, I'll give it back to you one day when I am king." Sarah Ferguson was also stripped of her HRH after she and Prince Andrew divorced, though she still is known as the Duchess of York. The significance of losing HRH status means not only are you not addressed in the way that you once were, but it also means that, for instance, you may not be invited to key royal events, and if you are, it changes the order in which who has precedence and where you would sit. It's also significant for Harry and this one's wife because it came with a loss of taxpayer-funded security, which we know that Harry has made a big song and dance about. Accordingly, the loss of HRH status is problematic for someone such as this one's wife because, first of all, it's a loss of status, which a narcissist would hate. It means that she's not addressed in the same way as other members of the royal family, which a narcissist would hate. It means that she doesn't get certain privileges in the way that other members of the royal family will have, which of course as a narcissist she will hate because she believes that she's better than everybody else. It impacts upon security, which of course is a residual benefit, and the loss of a residual benefit is also a threat to control for the narcissist. Thus, this loss of HRH status was problematic. We have seen that this one's wife, demonstrating her usual defiance and lack of boundary recognition, utilised HRH on a card where a gift was sent. Nevertheless, officially, she does not have that particular status. Now, I explained all of that to help you understand the significance of it generally and also to the narcissist. And interestingly, Alexander Larman, writing for The Spectator magazine, tells us, say what you like about the Duchess of Sussex, and I try to, but she has a knack for coming up with the provocative. While the world is still reeling from the recent video of her twerking, she has returned a few days later with news that is both entirely unexpected and grimly predictable. She's considering parlaying her as-ever lifestyle and her wear range into a series of restaurants and hotels. See parts passim for my observations about that. Larman writes, although details of this potential hospitality empire are as yet sketchy, it has been reported that the brand has been trademarked with a view to providing hospitality services. This will reportedly include both places to stay and, chillingly, the provision of food and drink. Whether or not this will mean that guests will be treated to as-ever branded honey and the already infamous strawberry spread at the breakfast table is as yet unclear. But it would not be remotely surprising to find in a few months that the first such enterprise is well on its way to opening. After all, this one's wife had already warned the world that such a thing was coming on her Netflix show, when she blindly stated that, when I have someone stay, one of my favourite things to do is prep the guest room. It is tempting to imagine the Sussexes opening a small family-run bed and breakfast business in Monty Shitshow. This one's wife would certainly excel at serving up the homespun dishes and treats that she demonstrated to an indifferent world in With Love, Meghan. Not only this, but you can imagine her attention to detail extending to placing passive-aggressive little notes on guests' pillows with the turn-down service, something along the lines perhaps of her brand statement that, as ever is more than a brand, it's a love language. Barf. As for Harry, well, every independent hospitality business needs a former military man in charge of logistics, although this one will hardly shut up and get on with the job. Imagine the Major from Fawlty Towers, but with a propensity to drone on and on about the various legal cases that he's been involved in, how his father doesn't understand him, and how he hates his brother. Such things would undoubtedly make a stay in an as-ever hotel an unforgettable one, for all the wrong reasons. However, one suspects that what is more likely is that the brand would instead turn into an overpriced, soulless mid-market group of identikit hotels and restaurants, no doubt with the omnipresent image of their founder and spiritual guru beneficently smiling down at their guests like a more glamorous big brother. Undoubtedly, such venues would have a curiosity value for a short period of time. I can almost hear the delighted shrieks of influencers and lucky loos in Monty Shitshow, possibly orgasmic at the opportunity for more hashtag content for their Instagram pages. Yet those of us who can still restrain ourselves from excitement at the antics of La Markle will be looking at this latest development with a mixture of unease and dread. It is obvious that she now sees herself as an entrepreneur and lifestyle pioneer, and there is little limit to her ambitions. Cruise ships, rocket ships, who knows what else is likely to follow if this does take off. Perhaps it may have been kinder, on balance, to allow this one's wife to retain her much-coveted HRH title. Had that happened, these perpetual exercises in self-gratification may have been less vital to her self-esteem. As it is, all we can do is to await with suitable trepidation the opening of the least welcoming hotel since the Shining's The Overlook. Accordingly, Larman suggests that it might have been better and kinder to have allowed this one's wife to remain an HRH, because the retention of such status might have stopped her going on such exercises. It's an interesting proposition, but it's one that's wholly wrong. This one's wife's narcissism knows no bounds. It will not stop in the pursuit of control, fuel, character traits, and residual benefits. Even if she had been allowed to retain the HRH title, whereby that would afford her certain privileges, even though she might not be attending many royal events, and that it would assist with regard to the security question, it wouldn't stop her in her pursuit of the prime aims. It would not be enough. She still needs to gain the fuel, which would mean that she would need to continue to make herself prominent in some way, buying awards, turning up at events where she's not wanted, giving speeches that nobody wants to hear, sharing photographs of her on a near daily basis, creating content which nobody cares for because it's all about her. All of that would still have happened if she had the HRH title. Indeed, the provision and retention of the HRH title would have actually emboldened her. I'm an HRH. Bow down before me, mere earthling, for I am an empress, a queen, a goddess. It would not have stopped her creating awful content because her narcissism demands that she do so. It wouldn't stop her with the lifestyle brand and the suggestion of hotels and restaurants, because not only is that driven by her need for control and fuel, there is that massive residual benefit of money. Contrary to what Mr. Larman writes in The Spectator, whilst he thinks it might have been kinder to allow her to have kept the HRH title, the fact is, if that happened, it wouldn't have stopped the This One's Wife being the This One's Wife that we know today, and indeed, she would be even all the more unbearable as a consequence of wielding that title. I'm HG Tudor. Thank you for listening.